Jesus. My team go hard. My team rap Jesus. We about to go far. We about to go far.
Hey everyone, it's your girl LikeShare here. Listen, Fervently Creations Marketplace Ministry. This is the place where we actually just open up and get a chance to talk to other people that are doing ministry outside the four walls of the church. Listen, as I say in every show, you have to remember that it is 5 gospels. Yes, that's right, 5. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and you. Sometimes the only one they see, the only one they pay attention to, the only one that they feel as though they encounter is the very last one I mentioned, which is you. So we have to make sure that even outside of the four walls of the church, that we are actually going out and doing the Great Commission, that we're carrying out the Great Commission, that we're actually engaging people and displaying the love of Jesus Christ, the love of God, right? And so a lot of times we encounter people and you would be surprised to even find out that they even have a church home, know where the church is located at, let alone that they're actually in ministry, right? And so with this, I just like talking to people and just saying, how are you actually spreading the word? How are you actually spreading the gospel? What are you doing outside of the four walls? But also it's a lot of us that God has in different spheres of influence. And in that, you know, some of us, our sphere of influence may be business, it may be family, it may be media. Me, right? So it may be media, it may be wherever that God has you, or it may be government, right? So while you're in that spirit, once he's giving you influence, if he's giving you power, if he's giving you authority in a certain area, are you actually doing that? Are you using the gifts, the talents that God has given you for his glory, for the kingdom of God, right? So that is what Fervently Creation is about. Before we go through anything, I do have some announcements, some things that I want to share with everyone on today. One of the things is I have my own perfume line out, y'all. It's called Fervently Intense. Fervently Intense. Listen, I love it. Fervently Intense is something that I had created just for me. So the smell, this and I mean, I love it. I love the smell. But one of the things about it is that it is all organic. So those that have sensitive skin, this perfume is awesome. For those that know anything about frankincense and myrrh and the spiritual meaning behind it, this is what you smell. That is the hint of the smell that you actually get with Fervently Intense. We do have frankincense and myrrh in there. So make sure you go to my website, www.ferventlycreations, and get your order. We also have body wash. I have the body lotion as well. So make sure you go and check that out as well. Listen, I am about to soon do another author call. I've had a deadline, but I'm going to push it back a little bit because I got a couple other projects that I'm working on. But if you are called into one of the 7 mountains of influence, which is religion, family, education, government, business, media, arts, art, entertainment, make sure you email me, or again, you can go to my website, check out and be part of the anthology titled 7. How are you actually using your influences? What I spoke on earlier, y'all. How are you actually using your sphere of influence for the kingdom? How are you actually going out, and what has God blessed you with? How has he anointed you to move in the area of government? How have he anointed you to move in the area of business, arts and entertainment? Are you a singer? Like what is it that he's giving you that you're using? So if you want to talk about that, talk about the ups and downs, the struggles, or just the blessings that come along with it, how you was able to shift your mindset, how you're able to use this area, please reach out to me. I would love to collaborate with you in this great anthology. Also, for those that are asking, yes, I will be doing another Prisoner War in a Mind anthology. It will go along with our conference for June of 2024. If you want to be part of that, I am creating a wait list because so many people have asked me about this particular anthology. So if you want to be part of it, please make sure you reach out to me as well so you can get on that wait list. And last but not least, if you want to connect with me, you as author with speaking engagements, panels, conference, whatever it is, life coaching, interviews. I'm also a certified Christian mental health coach. So if you want to connect with me, make sure you do. You can go to booking@ferventlycreations.com to reach out to me on that. So wanted to throw that out there. A lot of times I forget, a lot of times we go through and we're so busy promoting everyone else that we forget to actually talk about what it is that God have us doing. We forget, and I don't know, maybe that's just me. Sometimes I get so caught up and so excited for cheering for other people that I forget to celebrate. I forget to market for my own self. So I'm trying to get better at doing that without feeling guilty for doing it, y'all. Listen, so that is that, man. I have an amazing guest today. I can't wait for y'all to bring her up. But before we do, y'all know how we always open this show. We got to talk about God. We got to talk about the word of God. So we're going to dig deep today in Judges chapter 7, verse 2. The Lord told Gideon, "You have too many soldiers with you for me to drop Midian into their hands," because Israel would become arrogant and say it was my own abilities that delivered me. Listen, I seen, and it kind of comes from our guest today, and she had made this comment on social media, and she was saying how, sometimes we can't go to the next level. I don't know it verbatim, but it was something we can't go to the next level sometimes because of who is attached to us, who then came in alignment with who we said, hey, you know what? I'm about to do this assignment. I'm about to do this conference. I'm about to do this book. I'm about to establish this business. But we got so many people connected to us, and sometimes it's not so many. It's who is connected to us. Whether you got somebody that is speaking that operates heavy in the spirit of fear, and because their fear, now they're self-projecting their own fears, their own insecurities, their own doubts, their own beliefs, or some of it, they just don't think, they really don't believe in the vision. They just want to be part of something. So because sometimes of who is attached to us, God can't even release, he can't even drop the blessings into our hands. He cannot even shift us to the next level. And some of them, because they feel like, hey, because I'm connected to it, and she wouldn't get this far, he wouldn't get this far in life if it's not for what I brought to the table. They won't be able to get this far in life if I wouldn't came into this. I made them. And you know what? Some of us, God won't even allow us to shift into a different dimension, a different realm, a different sphere or whatever, just because we got somebody that wants to come in and they want to take the credit for what God is about to bring victory in. They want to sit up there and they want to get all the accolades. They want to say, yes, I did this and this, and her stuff would have failed. His stuff would have failed if I wasn't part of it, or what. They are so busy trying to get the glory of God, trying to take the glory of God, that God said, I can't even move in your life. I can't move in your situation because this person is tied to it. This person has attached themselves, but they was never assigned to it. Come on, somebody. Some people have attached themselves, but they was never assigned to you. And so because they have came as an attachment, God said, I can't do nothing. I can't move. I can't shift. It was too many people with you. I remember even with my conference that I did, Prisoner of War, God told me, he said, send out a Gideon email. I'm like, what's a Gideon email? So I went and I sent out this email and just said, hey, y'all, because this, that, another. And, it was financial struggle. So anybody that does anything at different levels, or whether your level's here or there, right? So you're going to hit some type of financial strain. Some of us will, right? So that was one of the areas that I got hit in for my conference had just passed. So God said, send out a Gideon email. Hey, So I'm upfront with everybody because now I have to drop pride. I have to say, all right, y'all, financial struggles. It was some stuff that I wanted to do. I had displayed that I was going to, or discussed that I was going to try to do, but due to financial reasons, I can't do this. I can't accommodate you in certain areas for finances. And saying, if this is the time, if you want to leave, or you no longer want to be part of the conference, let me know. Nobody really, I think a couple people dropped out, but within 1 week, 8 people dropped off from the conference. 8 people in 1 week, all of them dropped off for different reasons or whatever. Wasn't, It wasn't a thing where it's, some reasons was good or bad, or it was just this, that. It was because God told me to send a Gideon email. I had too many people. I had too many people coming in with me, connecting with me. I had too many speakers on the panel. That's for some of y'all that are planning conferences and things like that. You may have too many people on your panel for speaking. You may have the wrong person on the panel for speaking. And it's not to say that they're bad. It's just mean that they were not assigned to that assignment. They had their own assignment. And some of us will run for our assignment. Come on, Jonah. Some of us will run from our assignment and get attached to somebody else, and we'll cause their whole thing to end up shipwreck, and we'll cause their whole thing to end up messing up. So if these people would have went, and then even in this situation, I promise you, I'm going to bring my guest up, right? Even in this situation, they was about to fight against, I think, somewhere in the 165,000, or somewhere, it was 100 and something odd thousand that they was about to fight. And he brought them down, which they was already outnumbered, but he brought them down to 300. Sometimes God would do more with less. And in him doing more with less, he's strengthening your faith. And so now you got faith to go into the next battle. So if Godwin did what he did previously for my conference, then I wouldn't have the faith to sit there and say, hey, I'm fixing to do it again. I'm fixing to try it again. And so that is some things that we have to think about. I need you to look and say, who is actually attached to me? And who's assigned to me? Ask yourself, who is actually have came in alignment with me, and some of them are actually on a diabolical, a demonic assignment from the enemy. They're on an assignment to cause your plan to fall. Some of them have came up to you like Sanballat and Tobiah, and you let them in the camp. But Nehemiah was strong enough. He was wise enough to know, your hand's not supposed to touch this. You're not supposed to build with me. You're not supposed to go to the next level. You're not supposed to help me. And sometimes we depend on other people for help, and God can't move because we're reaching out and we done made somebody else or put somebody else in the place of God, right? We didn't put somebody else in that position to sit up there and say, you know what? Hey, if you need anything for his finances, let me know. God said, no, I need this person to be disconnected from you. I need this person detached from this assignment because I need you to trust me. I need you to depend on me. I need you to understand that I am your God and that I will provide. I am Jehovah Jireh. I will give you the provision that you need. But a lot of times I remember, and y'all probably, I got excited. Let me calm down. I know that a lot of times I had someone that one of the hardest prophetic messages that I ever received was someone that told me, it was like, you got to stop playing God. I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. And I really took offense to it. And I'm wondering, I don't receive every prophetic word, but this was one I kept on the shelf, like, because I was offended by it. But then weeks later, close to a month, I had understood that it was people that was coming to me for financial help. It was people that was coming to me for financial assistance. And because I was so freely giving away money that God didn't tell me to give anybody, I had became their God. Because they didn't go to God. They'll come straight to Tish. We have to look and start paying attention to what we're doing, who we're attached to, who's assigned to us. With that, listen, I'm excited. I need to hear what this woman of God got to say on this Bible verse. I have to hear what this woman of God has to say. So, Samantha, the mic is yours. Look, I'm not on Clubhouse, y'all. I'm sorry, but Samantha, look, here you go. Here you go the mic. The mic is yours. What do you have to say about Judges 7:2?
Listen, Judges 7:2, Judges 7:2. So many of us need to read that. And I recall the post that you were talking about too. And it was around people being stuck because of who you're attached to. People that you're attached to can hinder you. And Gideon itself, the name Gideon means to cut down, right? It means to cut down. It means to cut down. How many victories have we really lost, missed out on, had delayed because of our obedience to what the Lord is saying? A lot of times we know we need to disconnect. A lot of times we know we can't do it with this one attached. We know they're going to hold us back. They're going to cause us more delays. They're going to cause us struggles, and they're going to cost us peace a lot of times also. And we don't have time to miss out on victories that God has already aligned for us to win. So, with that, having the thought of verse 4, when the Lord told Gideon, there are too many. And then he separated. He did the separating. You bring them here, and I'm going to make some of these more of these detach. That still was not enough. We have to be aware of who's connected to us. What if there was really a certain amount of wealth that was attached to you, or connection, a networking opportunity that was for you, but because of your attachments and people knowing the relationship between you and someone you should not be attached to, what if that was the delay? Or what if that made the no come, right? What if that was the reason? What if that was the reason? What if that simply was the reason? We have to be okay detaching. I cannot afford to lose another battle that's already been given to me because of loyalty. I'll say that loyalty. Loyalty sometimes keeps us stuck in these situations. Loyalty will keep you in friendships that really aren't friendships, in situationships, and even in churches that you need to be out of. Loyalty cannot override the instruction of the Lord. I don't care. Equality over quantity. Just give me the quarter. Just give me the quarter. Give me the quarter. I'd rather have less than more and be safe and know who's around me, know who's attached to me, know that I'm going to win, know that we're on the same page, know that it's in the will of God. But we have to be obedient. You were obedient by sending the Gideon email out, right? You were
Yep.
obedient with that. You were obedient with that. Perhaps those ones did not need to be there for that. Maybe there was something else attached. Gideon has always been the one I'd like to refer to when there's a shift happening and when there's certain things happening, whether it be seasonal or whether it be, permanent. We have to be okay with that because we cannot afford to miss victories that are already ours. It's already ours. It's already ours. It's already ours. And later in that scripture, someone had a dream and they saw that the battle, that was explanation.
It's already
Would
won.
Gideon have tied up this country and delayed victory for an entire people, for his culture, for his family, for his children's children? We don't know who he could have delayed freedom for or a victory for had he not done what the Lord said. Bring these people here, I'll do the separating. And then the rest fall off, leaves you with 300. Being obedient in the instruction of the Lord also led him to that victory.
Yeah. I love that it was God that did the separating, because sometimes we sit there and we will separate or disconnect from the wrong people at some time, But with that is knowing that once God does the separation, and my prayer, once God starts separating, a lot of times we go through those seasons where God is disconnecting people. And so I'm learning now in this year, in 2023, to say, Lord, help me to allow the separation that you're causing to go away without grievance. Because sometimes we grieve those relationships, and something that he has separated us from, we'll go back and chase out of it, and we'll go back and reconnect with them. But also we have to learn to separate, especially as females, right? We have to learn to
Yeah.
separate. It's okay to separate. It's okay to grow apart. It's okay to say, hey, I'm a cheer from you from back here, or from up here, or over here, whichever way. I'm just to cheer from you from a distance.
Yeah.
And I still wish you well. But sometimes we don't know how to separate without the animosity. We don't know how to separate without confusion. And all of a sudden she just stopped talking to me. She thinks she's better than me. And this is just like, no, like, God got me moving different. He shifted me, and where you're going and where I'm going, it's in two different paths. And so we're not supposed to be aligned. But who's to say that as we hit this traffic circle and you're going this way and I'm going this way, that we won't come together, along, that he won't align us up later in the path. But sometimes we burn those bridges in between to where we can't even reconnect with people because our flesh get in the way.
Very
Our
true.
flesh get in the way.
Very true. And some things will not happen for us or cannot happen for us until we disconnect. I've seen that so many times. A major change happened for me. Didn't understand it. I was just like, okay, God, all right. You know what you're doing, because I don't. But as soon as that happened, everything opened up. Things were released, opportunities were presented, promotion came, marriage came, books came, all of this stuff came. I didn't even realize how stuck I was by being stuck to somebody else, right? We've got bad magnets at times.
Yeah.
We want to attract good stuff and good stuff. Sometimes we're stuck ourselves to the wrong refrigerator. Take the magnet off. It's okay. It's okay. Pull it back. Pull back.
Go
Pull
back.
back. Certain things cannot be released. Certain wealth cannot be released to us. If we're attached to people, we're going to continue to give it to. And God knows our hearts and the way we want to help people and pour to people and give this and sow this and sow this. Those people had to be pulled away also, so that I wouldn't lose everything, or that you won't lose everything He's giving to you or blessing you with. So I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
And as you said earlier, it was like a lot of it's due to loyalty.
That's it.
We will not disconnect because we have became, some of us are more loyal to man than what we are to God.
Very true.
Because we don't want to hurt their feelings, and we don't, but we see that they're toxic, or sometimes we don't even see what the issue is. We don't know why God is disconnecting us from this person. As you were just saying, we don't know why it's causing a separation. Why I have to be separated from you? Well, and I remember right before God had me separating from an individual, and I didn't understand it at the time. And what it was that this individual did not believe in female preachers. Oh, wow. So God had to separate, and He was trying to separate, but I kept trying to reconnect. So God sent this person overseas. And that's how after He sent the person overseas, then I started getting the callings like, wait a minute, hold on, God, I know you ain't calling me. Like I was a true Gideon, like, okay, you calling me to do this. And that person said that, like, but because He knew I was already going to struggle with it. This person had to be separated from me, so that where I can be able to receive it, because this person that was closely in my ear, because of how close of friends we are, did not believe in women being in ministry. I didn't believe in, some people don't believe in women being in ministry, period. And some people just don't believe that they should be in certain roles and stuff. Yeah. And so because of her mindset, I had to be separated from her for a season till I was able to walk boldly in it and say, I didn't call myself. That's not my choice. I could pick out 10, 20 other people that He could have called at that time, but He called me. And so, but I had to be able to walk boldly in that. And I had to, but He already knew I had my own reservations about it. And so because of just their belief, maybe their mindset or whatever, we don't see it. And then God begins to separate, and we'll go back and chase after, like, hey, you acting funny, you acting strange. You get it's like, no, God saying, I'm doing the separating. I'm doing the cut. It's just like with Abraham and Lot, right? Yes. Abraham and Lot, He caused confusion amongst their herdmen, and then which caused them to separate. So when they separate, now Abraham is able to get everything that God had promised him. Now God's able to give him the land and put him in the regions. Now he's able to get the blessings, right? But He could not do it as long as Lot was connected to him, because He had told him to separate anyway from everybody. So once that separation occurred, now Abraham can get it.
Right. The blessings always follow obedience. And a lot of times God will tell us what we need to do. And He may not always be the one. He may not always be the one to take the action. He's waiting for us to make the moves and be obedient and follow the instructions of disconnecting, whether that's deleting the text, deleting the number, unfriending, unfollowing. It's okay. He may be waiting on us, and He may have already given the release. He may have already put the peace in your heart and in theirs, so that it's received in a healthy way, healthy communication, whether there is communication or not, because sometimes you may have instruction to separate without communication, and it'll still be peaceful. So yeah, I'm in definitely agreement with that.
Awesome. Tell the people who they have the pleasure of speaking with, getting to know today.
Absolutely. I am Samantha S. Jones. I am in Eastern North Carolina. I am a gospel recording artist, also a 2-time published author. I'm an entrepreneur as well, and I'm a mentor. I mentor those who are interested in starting their own transitional housing program where they can house the homeless.
Awesome. How did you get into the transitional housing?
Well, my grandmother passed away in 2017, and I named it after her, Daisy's Morning Glory. Her name was Daisy. So I named it after her. She was a caregiver of a few of her relatives and became legal guardian of those relatives. And mental illness was a factor in play as well, which caused her to have to step in, of course. So I kind of went in that direction when I saw the need in my community, state area, around the world, of other women who need to be properly taken care of or fed, housed, all of that, and just need somewhere safe to go. So that's really what pushed me to get involved in that area of the transitional housing programs.
And I think those are awesome. I was talking to my dad, who's business owner, and one of the things that he would say was, whatever business you do, you have to make sure that it's a need. And so, as you said, you was able to see the
Yes.
need in the community, and that's always going to be a need because, as you know, people are homeless for different reasons. Whether it's just, life just hit them all of a sudden, whether it's mental health, and a lot of times we don't even pay attention to the whole thing of it being a mental health issue or maybe a mindset. A lot of people, because their mindset, they're stuck in their mindset, they refuse to shift or don't know how to shift, or they never had anyone to help cultivate them or teach them any different, or because trauma has kept them mentally stuck in a spot to where they have this certain perspective of how they see things, how they do things, or whatever. Next thing you know, they've lost it all.
Very true. Very true. That will cause many, and it has caused many to be homeless. And a lot of them don't want a structured living program at all. They just want to do how they want to do. So I get calls from several types of different referrals all the time. People are reaching out. Hey, can you help? Because mine is operated in a Christian manner. So they are, expected to grow, be able to transition back into society, if that's the best interest for them and for their future. So that's something that I'm definitely heavily passionate about, is the well-being of our women. A lot of these women are RNs, they're vets. They're just rejected pretty much a lot of times. But these are well-educated and knowledgeable women that I've seen come through my facilities.
Wow. What is the biggest challenge that you have with your transitional housing?
Um, the biggest challenge I would say is trying to help those who don't want it.
Mm,
That's the biggest challenge, and they can go ministry wise too. Trying to help those who don't want it, seeing the need, knowing I have the knowledge and ability to help, and seeing someone refuse it is the worst thing ever. I know what can help your problem. I have the solution to fix the need and answer and prevent this from reoccurring, but you don't want it. That's the hardest thing.
you know what? And some of it is a thing to where some of them don't want it, or they're so busy fighting against what you're trying to do that it's like the lifeguard, and they say, you see someone and they're drowning or whatever, you have to wait till they stop fighting the water before you can actually jump in and help them, save them, because if not, they'll take you down in a process. And
Wow.
so sometimes once you have people that is trying to reach out and help you, whether it's like the transitional home, whether it's ministry, or whether it's business, whatever it is, family members, until they actually stop fighting against the water and allow you to say and surrender, you know,
Hmm.
and then allow you to go in and help them. Not that, a lot of times they'll take you down with you. I had someone that told me, they said, you're called to the broken. Just like, in the issue with called to the broken is that the broken people operate out of their brokenness, and they will eventually, in not knowingly, unknowingly, will try to break you in the process. And so with doing that and trying to help people, and I think sometimes it's a challenge of wanting, sometimes you want more for a person or see more in that person what they actually see or want for themselves. So that could be a challenge. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the main thing. Having people reject the help. Because I exchange hope, for homelessness. And there's so many who have declined the bed, declined, a new life, a new way of things. So many have declined because it's just not what they're used to, not what they're wanting. Family is for it, and sometimes they'll say, yeah, this is it. Yeah, I'm ready to move forward in my life. They'll come see it, and it's like, wow, I can't do this. I can't do this. And how many times do we do that when God shows us something bigger, our vision, and we get right there? It's like, wow, you have all this for me. All of this is lined up for me. All of this is waiting for me. All of this is waiting for me. Okay, well, you have a choice. You have a choice. So I give them the opportunity to transition into a new way of life, or they can remain the same.
Awesome. You
Yes.
also said that you are a author. Can you tell us about your
Yeah.
books?
Absolutely. I have two published books. My first published book is called I Release You Uncovered. That book was birthed out of a personal experience in a previous church where I was kicked out of a church, released from a church, however you want to call it, pushed out of a church through social media. With no explanation, no reason, no conversation, no nothing, no sit down, any of that, no reason at all. And that pushed me to being where I am now. That release uncovered and unlocked some things that probably wasn't intended to happen, but it released some other things and allowed God to release some other things for me. Once I was released from the ministry, I was doing ministry, doing what I was supposed to be doing, all of that, and was released. So that left me uncovered for a period of time, which also lets me see my residents differently as well, because a lot of them are uncovered. And a lot of
Yes.
them were released. A lot of them were rejected. So that's where my book was birthed from, the first book. My second book is Mommy and Me. It's a children's book that I released this June of this year, and it is dedicated to moms, all single moms around the world who are doing it alone. I was raised by a single mom and I turned out great, but there are so many single mothers who do not think that they can do it
Yeah.
alone. They don't think they can be great. They don't think the child is, going to get through high school or make it without children before marriage, all this stuff. It can happen. You can still be great. The child can still be great. So I dedicated a book to my mother. Dedication is to her, and it's titled Mother, Mommy and Me. So that's in all stores. It's online as well.
That's awesome. Your first one, the release, it reminded me back to Judges 7 and 2 of that separation having to happen in order for him to even release into your hands what he had for you. And
Yeah.
sometimes we look at rejection and do not realize it's just redirection. Like
Read.
I made them reject you. It like with Moses, each time that he went to Pharaoh, God was telling him what to do, had prepped him for it, but each time I'm one that I love to read the Bible. And I remember reading it and it was just like, wait a minute, hold on. This thing said, and God hardened Pharaoh's heart. So
God.
God was causing Pharaoh to reject Moses. And we don't realize that sometimes it's the rejection is necessary in our life. And a lot of us get stuck in the feelings of the rejection. We get stuck and we can't move past the hurt from being rejected. We can't move past the fact that they did this and they betrayed me and this and another, and not realizing, hold on, God's redirecting me. Let me pull up my bootstraps and just go ahead and drive on. But a lot of us, we get stuck in the rejection, and we let the rejection affect how we connect, or whether we'll connect with other people that reminds us of a situation or whatever. So the rejection keeps us stuck. How did you not allow the rejection from being released keep you stuck?
I think it lit a match for me, to be honest. I think I felt ignited even more afterwards. And I progressed. It was immediate. It was immediate. Didn't understand it. Didn't understand what was going on. If I can be transparent, very confused because I was serving. So, and for a period of time, being there 7 years is a long period of time. I wasn't just in and out. I wasn't hopping around. I was 7 years. I was still. So, with all of that, me realizing that it was necessary and that it was a matter of protection for me helped me to move forward. So, I started writing. That's what happened for me. I started writing. And in my writing, others were finding healing. And I was told to sanitize my story. I was told to water it down. I was told, you can't. And I was just like, well, who's going to get healed from this if I water this down? I can't water this down. So, for me, realizing it was necessary and having another source of fire ignited caused me to move forward. Not shortly after was when I published the first book. All of
Yeah.
that. It called me more to the streets. I was doing my street ministry with the bullhorn, witnessing. That's where I was at before the release even happened. I was on the corner with the bullhorn. I was outside. So I went
Wow.
back outside. I went back outside. So yeah.
And I love it because I think sometimes we all get caught up to hanging around other Christians, and somebody have to be on the street. Someone has to be in the grocery store. Someone has to be in the salon. Somebody has to be in the government. Somebody has to be in whatever area. And we made, some of us have made the church just a hoarder of people, and no one is actually being released out to actually carry out their mission that they was placed, their purpose. And we think that our purpose is that God called me to a pulpit. And no. He might have called you to, he called you into ministry, but he didn't call you into a pulpit. You know,
Right.
he called you to the street corners. He's called you into the area of media through journaling or through writing books and getting things out for us that way. And we don't, and a lot of us don't realize that. And once we get rejected by the church, or the church don't accept us, like I had someone explain it to me for, it's like chickens and eagles, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're an eagle, and I'm not saying people in the church are chickens, but
Mm-hmm.
some of us are eagles that are surrounded by chickens. And so any way that we move, any way that we shift, it seems awkward to them. It seems weird to them, and you're doing too much, and you're moving strange. It's like, but I'm not supposed to move the way that you move
Right.
because I am an eagle, I'm not a chicken, or because I am an eagle, I'm not a duck, I'm not a goose or geese, whatever. I'm not that. And because he's made me, you may be a dove, but he called me to be an eagle, to soar at a whole different level, in a whole different atmosphere or dimension. And because of that, I look strange. So we sit there and we take that, and then we're trying to conform, we're trying to fit in with some chickens. Once he said, I didn't call you to be a chicken.
Right.
I
Right.
didn't call you to be that.
Right. It wasn't till later that I realized that I was different.
Yeah.
I knew it wasn't fitting. I knew I was a square. I've always been a little, just stand out a little bit. I always knew that. But it wasn't until I was gone from that church, or even with different groups of people, it wasn't until I was separated in my get in experience, I'd say, from certain ones, until I could really see that, yeah, one of these things is not like the other. It wasn't until
That
then.
you was an eagle.
Eagle, act like one, all of that. You see different.
Yeah.
You look different. You fly different. Eagles don't flap much. They just soar. They glide. They don't even have to flap much at all.
Wow.
It's all different. It's all different. We don't see the same. You don't see the same. And it makes sense later. Like, this is why y'all don't understand, because, yeah, we're on different pages. Why was I here again? This was where I was at that time, but I'm not here anymore. Now, why was I there in the first place? It was just a part of the growth. It helped build, it helped build, it helped build, it helped build for where you are now. It makes sense later, but when you look back to see, it's just like, what in the world? What in the world is going on here?
Why did I stay so long? I should
Why?
have been left. They shouldn't had to release me. I should have been left.
See, and it's funny you said that, because prior to, and I don't know if you even read the book, but prior to the releasing, my letter was typed. So my plan was to do it the right way. We're going to talk about this. Here's my letter. I'm all about, administration and proper etiquette, all of that. I've served in those roles. So I know the way it's supposed to be done. All of that. It's okay. So I was like, we're handling this situation unlike eagles, for one. And so many times we mishandle others who really could be further now, but because we mishandle them, they're still stuck with the chickens. Not by choice.
Yeah.
Not by choice all the time. It's not always by choice. So we have a lot of chickens in the church, and they could also be eagles.
Yep. You said, and once you mentioned that eagles, that they don't flap much, right? And
Right.
I thought back to Judges 7. And so once they had heard the dream, and they're in the camp, and so Gideon, he's listening to him, but he never did have to raise. He didn't have to flap much. Let me put it that way. Gideon
Mhm.
did. Gideon's army, the 300, did not have to flap much at all.
That's right. That's right. That's why you got to know who's around you. If my sword is out, your sword is supposed to be out. Why are we standing here? Why? If we're all going into
Are you
battle, we're
observing?
all going into battle.
Yeah. That's awesome. Awesome. So you also mentioned that you are a recording artist. Let's talk about
Yes, I
music.
am.
How did
Yes, the title of that single is He Can.
Okay.
Title of that single is He Can. The 3-year anniversary for that was actually on yesterday. I released that. My husband produced it. That
Happy
was my first
anniversary.
single. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's on all digital media platforms as well.
Awesome. So with
Man.
He Can, what gave you the passion behind that? Because once you wrote your books, and I know that those probably came, but once you wrote the release, once you wrote The Mommy and Me, it was a passion behind it. It was a something that God had shifted. He had cultivated you for that assignment. What was it with He Can?
Just to remind the world that he can. It was right in the middle of the pandemic, all of that, 2020. So people were forgetting that we should be calling on Jesus. Hello.
Come on.
We were forgetting that we should be still believing that he can. That was a simple thing. It didn't look like it. People were checking out of here. People were losing jobs. People were getting sent home. People didn't know what to do. But all we needed to know was that He can. So I had to remind the world that God is still healing. God is still saving. He's still working miracles. He's still the same God. We don't know what's happening. That's not for us to know. We just need to know that He can. That's it. So that's where that song came from, and it was birthed out of. But my husband actually produced that song, so that's why it has Howard on that, and then we got married that same year.
Awesome. So with He Can, are you
Yes.
saying it was birthed out of the pandemic? And I think
Yes.
once I looked at the pandemic, I was like, this is modern day plague. It was
Yeah.
nothing. So he definitely can, because I believe he's the one that sent it. Like
Yes.
that's just how I feel about it. Yes, and
Yes.
people, but that it was nothing but a modern day plague. And once I look at the viruses and stuff that break out into society now, into the nations and stuff, like no matter what it is, whether it was the flu. I'm pretty sure once the flu came around, people was looking at the flu like, what is this? And people died from it. And it's, I think once it comes to that, we forget that some of the stuff that happened back then was not just, it's still prevalent today. It's still happening. It just looks different because it's modern. And so once it comes to COVID or whatever other virus that hits the nations or hit the countries or whatever, modern day plagues.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can't afford to ignore what's happening. We're doing all this other stuff that doesn't need to be done, unnecessary things we're saying, we're preaching about, we're talking about, we're posting, but we need to look at the signs of the times and what is happening and why it's happening in this time, so that we can be aware, not in fear, but prepared of what the Bible is supposed to be doing. It's fulfilling itself. So, yeah, we definitely have that going on right now with the plagues and different signs. I
And
believe that as well.
And the same things, it still happens. Like back then, the apostles and the apostles, disciples, they was being rejected from the church.
That's right.
They was being released from
Right.
stuff. And we forget that this stuff is still happening. It's still happening. The Bible is still being written through our everyday lives. But through a lot of us that are authors and stuff, God is still speaking to us, and we're still writing.
Yes.
And now we're able to publish, and we're able to get it out in multitudes of stuff. And so people are still picking up and they're reading what thus said the Lord to us, what he told me about this situation, what he said to me. And we forget that. We forget how powerful our words and the fact that God, you know, once you're looking at songs and stuff and songs of, hey, people are still singing.
Yes.
We still, people are getting the message out, and we're able to do it at a broader level. I feel like, you know, Christianity has went far, but it can go even further if we actually start using these platforms and these things. If we start actually doing it to promote the agenda of heaven, the agenda of the kingdom of God versus the agenda of Satan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's on us. That's on us to help get the word to all the corners of the earth. That is on us. And it's just a part of evangelism. And you do that well with your platform and making the opportunity for people to hear about Jesus in different ways and different opportunities of that to come forth from different people. But that's on us. That's definitely on us.
What advice would you give to someone that is interested in starting a transitional house and don't know? I know that kind of went backwards, but
Yeah, if they're interested in starting one, I would definitely say it needs to be a passion. You have to love people. You have to love the population that you're going to be helping. If not, it's just a number, and it's a person. It's a person who is being mishandled, and you are abusing them if you do not have a passion because you won't serve them the way they should be served. I do help people start them or plant them if they have an interest or want to know how it works and get their own going. But you do need to have a love, a passion for people. You have to love people. These people were homeless. Some of these people haven't eaten in months. I've had some people come with no shoes, no underclothes. They have no family. They have nothing, a lot of people. And some people do, and their families want nothing to do with them. So you become their family. You become their daughter, their sister, whatever they might call you, their cousin, their auntie. They may just think you're their friend, but you have to actually want to do this. You have to want to do it. And it'll be easier for you. It'll be smooth if that's your passion, just like anything else. But if it's just a desire for a check or like a regular job, it's not that. This is not a regular job. This is not that at all. This is ministry. It's
I think,
ministry.
and I think once what you ending it with saying ministry, I think that's the same thing when it comes to ministry. There's a lot of
Yes.
people in ministry like, I can't stand people. I can't stand God's people. And they
Oh,
miss out on the promised land because they get annoyed and they, instead of speaking to the rock, they strike the rock like Moses did. And then they miss their promised land because of their attitude towards his people. And
absolutely.
he can't use us to that full capacity if we're going to actually be hurting the people that are already broken versus empowering them and encouraging them and uplifting them. We turn around and we actually cause more damage if
Mhm.
if we don't have that love for them. Don't have it in same, caregivers, those that take care of elderly people are so same thing. And whether it's elderly or whether it's child development, whether it's, you're in the educational system or whatever. And there's a lot of people that do not have the love for it, and it's just a check. And because it's a check,
Mhm.
they mishandle.
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely. And how can we serve when it comes to ministry? How can we serve who we are called to if we don't like them? How
Right.
can you prophesy to people and witness to people? How can you witness? Let's do that over prophecy, right? How can you witness? How can you tell somebody or a population of people that you don't like, right, about Jesus that we serve if you don't like them? We're called to them. If you're called to them, you have to like them. You're going to get to like them either way. But if you have to like and love the people that you're called to, you can't pastor people you don't like. I've seen it done, to be honest, but you can't do it the right way.
You
Your
end up
hands
like
will
Jonah.
do it. Mm-mm,
You
mm-mm.
end up like they end up just like Jonah,
They
because
sure
Jonah
do.
had no love, had no desire to go and speak to the people that he was called to go speak
Right,
to.
right,
No love, no desire.
right.
A lot of us say, "Oh, we're running like Jonah," but Jonah was running for a different reason. Jonah was running because he didn't care for them folks, and he
Yes,
wanted them to be destroyed. He didn't want them to receive the love of God, and then got mad because he knew that God was about to do it. And once God did it, he was still like, it just killed me because you're gonna do
yes,
what you want to do. I don't think that.
yes, Yes, I agree. I agree. God had to get Jonah together. God
That's
had to get
all
him together to do the work. Do the work. Just do it the first time, then you won't have to suffer.
that part. So, how if people want to connect with you, people want to reach out to you to learn how to do the the transitional housing and or just want to connect with you on at any capacity, what is the best way or how can they do that?
Yes, absolutely. They can always go to my website. If you want to, if you're interested in starting your own transitional housing facility, or if you need my books or my music, all of that is on my website. So that is the samanthajones.net. And fill out the contact form. And I don't mind helping you with whatever you need to learn or whatever area you want to grow in. Also with fasting. I have a fasting group as well. So some people don't understand fasting, the principle of fasting, how to fast. I can help you with that too on Facebook. We have a private group for that also. Because I believe the Lord is trying to speak to us and we can't hear if we're eating all day long.
Listen, she is such a multifaceted woman. Make sure you go to www.thesamanthajones.net and connect with her. Each time we bring someone on here, I want you to reach out and connect to them. Try to figure out what it is or support them. If there's a way that you can support their ministry, support what they're doing, or if you just need to put them in your Rolodex. I know we don't have Rolodex anymore, but you just need to put them in your Rolodex, your Excel spreadsheet or whatever of,
Yeah.
hey, this is someone to connect with. Hey, I challenge people, start generating a Excel spreadsheet of people that you may need to network with, connect with, because you might not need them in this season, but it might be in the next season. And because you did not write the information down, you're like, man, what was their name? This, that, what was their website? But if you do this and if you start creating an Excel spreadsheet of people that you need to network with or connect with, you never know what will happen once it's time or once it's your season or once you reposition or once you detach from some of the people that have attached to you and get ready to do your assignment. Samantha, what words of advice, encouragement, empowerment would you like to leave the people?
I'm gonna leave two words: obey God. Like, let me just say this: it's been 2 months now since my husband and I were both in a 30-car pileup collision. Right, 2 months. It made on the 6th of this month. The Lord said fast 2 days before we were in the 30-car pile up collision. Nobody told me to fast. This wasn't a church thing. God told me next week don't eat. 2 days later, we did not know we'd be in a 30-car pile up collision. No food, liquid only. That's what the Lord said. And had I not obeyed God, I don't believe I'd be here talking with my good sis right now. Not at all. Not at all. Obey God. Nobody died on the scene. There were no zipped up body bags on the
That's because you
scene.
was in the background praying. You was in
Sword
the
out.
background warring.
Sword out. Obey God. That's the thought I would leave with everyone. If you have a challenge obeying the Lord, look at Gideon. Bring the people. Bring the people. I'll do the separating. Gideon, obey the Lord. 2 words, obey God. That's
Oh
it.
my God. And you know what? I'm gonna touch on that a little bit.
Yes.
In that you was out there warring. You was out
Yeah.
there. And so sometimes we think something has happened to us negative, but God had to put us in this situation because you were the one, you was his voice in that atmosphere. You was
Yes.
the voice that he needed to go forth. You know, a lot of times we're like, oh, the angels, this, that, and that. No, sometimes he'll use our own voice. And so we're put into a position, we're put into a situation or circumstance because he needs us in that atmosphere praying. He needs us in that atmosphere worshiping. He needs us in that atmosphere helping, serving in whatever capacity that we have. Hindsight, what do you, besides the fact that, hey, yeah, you knew to obey God for his hindsight, what do you think was your divine assignment, divine purpose of being in that palette?
I was definitely assigned to the scene. I believe I was assigned to rebuke death. I believe I was assigned to rebuke death. There's no way that there's a 30-car pile up collision with people, with pets, beside a propane truck that happened to be empty this particular day. That's never empty. The man said never empty. I believe I was assigned to rebuke death on the scene. My assignment. Got to a place in the middle of the highway and I had swords out. And those people were just like, "Are you all right?" I'm fine. I am great. And the rest of everything else was not in English at that moment. I had swords and all I heard was God. All I heard was God. Don't panic, pray. Don't panic, pray. And I seemed to get louder and louder and louder and louder and louder, not realizing that I was louder than the fire truck, the ambulance. And this is what the people were telling me there. I believe I was on assignment to rebuke death because there's
Well,
no way possible. Cars on fire, everything, nowhere possible.
mission completed.
Completed,
Hey,
completed.
that job well done. Good and faithful, sir. Hey, you completed it.
That's
Completed.
God. It was obedience. It had to be the obedience and just disciplining myself to be able to hear the voice of God and know that it's God and do it now. Do it now. When He says next week no food, okay, next week that's no food, and that's that. Knowing the voice of the Lord is so important because it could have been another way. It could have definitely been another way. You saw the scene. You saw the
Mhm.
scene like a
I
horror
did.
movie.
I did
A
because
horror.
you just reposted it a
Yes.
few days ago, I think. Not
Yes.
too long ago, you just reposted the video.
Yes. Yes,
So,
ma'am.
I think sometimes we get so caught up in situations, not even realizing that it's also people that are watching our faith in a crisis.
Mm,
You
that's
know,
good. Hmm.
and and that right there strengthens them, but it also demonstrates and shows and gives them a visual of how to respond to certain things. So you simply telling me to pray this, that, and another. Once you having issues in your marriage, once I'm having issues in my marriage, you're telling me to stay strong and keep the faith. But as soon as things get a little rocky in yours, now you like, oh, I'm fixing to leave this, that,
Mm,
that,
hmm.
and the
Right.
snatching at the air and the neck rolling and
Right.
we all in, and they like, wait a minute, hold, but you was just telling me to pray and fast, and to you're telling me, hey, no, don't engage in this and this, but you're doing the opposite. And we have to realize people are watching our faith walk in
Yes.
the midst of a crisis. And
Yes.
so you did very well. Very well.
I'm glad God is pleased with that. I'm glad I was spared in that because yeah, looking back at it and driving back over that highway now, it's a testimony every time.
Come on.
It's a
Come on.
reminder every time. A reminder every time. So yeah,
And
I'm blessed.
that's where you could be like Jacob, like, hey, this is where I met the Lord, and like this is where I
Right
tussled.
here.
Hey, I tussled this day.
Right here, yeah, tussle. I still got this. I still got the scars. I've got more scars and all of that.
Got the
This
war
is
wounds
where
and everything.
everything. War wounds.
Come on.
War wounds. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I thank you. I thank you so much. I enjoyed this interview.
I
Just talking
enjoyed.
to you, just communicating with you. It's awesome. It's awesome. I
Yes.
mean, sometimes you meet people, and I feel like once it comes to time, you can't get that back. But to be able to sit and have meaningful conversations with people that such as yourself is so inspiring. So I thank you so much. Again, if you missed it before, I'm going to put it back up on the screen. www.thesamanthajones.net. Please, please, please make sure you connect with this sister. I mean, she is amazing, multifaceted, and willing to help, willing to serve. If I can't say anything about her, I would say she's a servant first to the Lord. And so I thank you just for being who you are and allowing God to use you in your obedience in doing that, because so many people's lives have been touched through your own obedience. So we thank you. We thank
I
you.
appreciate the opportunity, and I'm glad to have met you and been able to come here and share.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, everyone, thank you again for attending, showing up for another episode. If you would like to donate or become a part of the show, make sure you go visit me at www.ferventlycreations.com. If you want to be a blessing, reach out to cash. You can cash out me at $Tish0621. Again, I love talking to people that are in marketplace ministry or just that loves talking about the word. So if anytime that you want to come on the show and you want to be part of the show, email me or go to the website and I will send you the schedule link, and I would love to talk with you. I would love to interact with you and just to actually see what it is that the Holy Spirit has put in you and through you and what you're doing with that. So with that being said, thank you again for coming out. Thank you for watching, and we'll see y'all next week.
My team rap Jesus. We about to go far. My team rap Jesus.